Hello, everybody, and good morning. On this Friday, we are watching a storm system that is now taking shape as it's exited the Colorado Rockies, and it's causing some much needed rain showers in portions of Texas, heading now through parts of Louisiana. As it works its way through, we're going to see this system form into some strong winds, areas of heavy rain, and where it's cold enough, where it looks like some very heavy snow as a nor'easter type system will take its way up the seaboard. Now, as we take a look at this, we're going to look at this to track the snow amounts. And this is storm number 1 in a wave of as many as 4 storms that could impact from the Great Lakes to the East Coast as we go through the middle of the month of January.
Now, a Hutch's weather update with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson, brought to you by Robert Gibb and Sons.
All right, let's get right to what's going on the radar right now. As we start our Friday, we're looking at 8 o'clock Central Time, and this is live. So I'm a meteorologist of 26 years. If you're not familiar with me, broadcast meteorology for the last 26 years, I like to talk about the weather. Number 2, I've taught meteorology at the college level for, well, the better part of 20 years. And it's a joy to pass along some knowledge. And that's what I like to do in these discussions. Show you models that you're seeing all over the webs, interwebs, and maybe even on your local apps that you're using, and give you a little bit of an insight into what it is that we're looking at. Now, weather is impacting the nation, and we have both coasts that are going to be impacted. And right now, a Alberta Clipper style system is working its way through the northern plains. Let's get right to that radar, shall we? First and foremost, what you're looking at here, the colors on the map, these highlighted counties and areas are all winter weather products at this present time. Now you can see the radar. This is what's going on just near the Houston area. We have some showers and thunder working its way through. And where you see the yellow in the New England states, things are looking like we are going to have a flat out winter storm. These are winter weather advisories from central PA, Altoona, all the way out towards the Scranton area. As we look into New York, check this out. Well, down in the boroughs, things aren't too awful, but we get just north of there, north of the coast, and we're looking at some pretty wintry conditions taking place there. And this system, because it blossoms and draws on moisture from the warm waters of the Atlantic, and then it forces it up the terrain in Appalachia, we're talking about some significant snowfall potential. So we do have winter storm watches in effect in these particular areas. That's what the yellow counties are. Now, as we take you down a little farther, Lynchburg, PA, all the way out to Roanoke, Virginia, and down in towards the Appalachians. Take a look at these. These are winter storm warnings that are already in place. Okay, the purple that you see, those are winter weather advisories. So we have a lot of advisories out for the East Coast for this system that will be pushing its way through. Look at what's going on the west. The next system coming through here, we've got good old winter storm warnings for those folks in the mountains of California as well. Now, this storm did just leave and is exiting places like New Mexico, where it did some significant snowing, and also for southern Colorado. Here's where it's snowing now. If you're in Wichita, Kansas, Dodge City, Kansas, these areas are picking up some bands of some pretty heavy snow where you see the darker blues. Right now, this is what's happening. Those darker blues indicative of snow that's falling at a pretty good clip out there. So it's very wintry as we begin the month of January. Checking out the central part of Texas, and look at this, Little Rock, Arkansas. If you're down there in Little Rock, if you are in Conway, you're getting some mixed bag of precipitation is what the radar is estimating. Now, I must tell you, and this is an educational piece about the radar. The radar is looking at, in this display, to tell us where it's raining in green and yellow, where it's snowing in blue. There's this level of pink, and that's mixed precipitation. There's a tool that we use in meteorology that can help us depict where this is taking place, and it's a type of radar called a dual polarization radar. And we can see the different type of what we call hydrometeors, or what's suspended in the atmosphere. That's showing up. That's one tool we use to do this. And the other is modeled temperatures of the atmosphere, but it's modeled. It's not measured. So this is an estimate of where that ice line is. It's not always accurate. In fact, sometimes it's off by a significant number of miles. Keep that in mind, Little Rock and Conway. You may be getting flat out rain instead of this icy mixture there. But let me know in the comments what you're seeing, because it's your reports Literally, it's your reports that help meteorologists decide what's going on and help us confirm if what the radar is telling us is the truth. Now, down to the south, we got very parched conditions in most of Louisiana. We see out here on the coast and the Gulf Coast, basically from, the Houston area, right? All the way out to Beaumont, Texas. We're seeing some heavier bands of rain making its way through. So that's what's going on now across the nation. We got another system that will be impacting the West Coast as we head into the next 24 to 36 hours. And this system that you see in Houston now, and that's snowing in places like Little Rock, Arkansas, with ice likely in that area and points north, is going to be pushing up the East Coast. What's it look like? We got a brand new model that just came out right now, and I'm going to show that to you. This is a rapid update model, okay? So it updates every hour. That means the forecast changes every hour, but what it does do, gives us an idea of the track of the storm, and we can compare this to other models. So as this is loading up, and we'll put this into play mode, you're going to see the future radar at this time. Let me pop that up here, future radar. And let's put up the winter version of it if we can here. So precipitation type, here we go. So we'll let this load up. We'll put this in fun 3D because we can, and it's cool. Okay, so here we go. We got a tilt of the earth. There's our snow, rain. It's making its way through. I'll tell you the timestamp on these. It looks like, let me get to a model run that goes a little farther out than 3 or 4 hours. Isn't that meteorology fun? Okay, here we go. There it is, moving up the seaboard. It's rain. Look at that rain snow line. It's going to shave the coastal region. So as we go in close, you'll see the advance, rain, thunderstorms, panhandle of Florida, very heavy rain all the way from Jackson, Mississippi, Montgomery, Alabama, all the way through Georgia. Then as we look into northern parts of Georgia, we see the purple box. That is a winter weather advisory for the elevated terrain there, Dalton, all the way up towards Asheville, North Carolina. And then also Greensboro to Roanoke. That area looks like it's going to be under the gun. So let me pause this and slow it down and give you some timings. Rain begins. The storm begins as rain. And the timestamp, if you look up here where my hand is pointing, is 4 in the morning. Okay, so as we head into your Saturday morning at 4 a.m., it begins as rain. Now let's carry this through. Look at Bloomington. Look at Indianapolis. Look at Chicago. So on the north side, the cold side of the system, and the Ohio River Valley, where we're looking at Cincinnati all the way into Columbus. Those areas can expect snow from this, but it will be brief. So it's not going to last for you all day. That's the good news. But it will be heavy in the elevated terrain. You see this grayer shade that you're looking at here from Cincinnati, Ohio, and up into the terrain, Huntington, Lexington. These areas are going to see some brief heavy snow from the system. Okay. Now look at the icing that could be taking place as we go through. Now let me pull the timestamp back up for you here. It is 8 a.m. on your Saturday morning. An icy mixture and concoction for some in a narrow band, and areas of very heavy snow on the cold side and very heavy rain on the south side. Looks like right now this model is depicting Charlotte getting mostly rain. But once you get up into the elevated terrain where the warnings are and where the watches are, that's where we're going to see more impacts. Let's carry you through Saturday a little farther. The system really intensifies here. Pittsburgh, PA, Western PA, all the way up into Cleveland and Akron, Ohio, and the Great Lakes region. The wind direction is going to be swirling in that counterclockwise fashion, scooping warm, moist air off the Atlantic coast and bringing it inland and moving it this way. Because of the circulation, we could have some narrow bands of the fancy lake effect that happens off the lake. There'll be a huge fetch of water and moisture off the lake here. So if you're looking at Lake Ontario, for instance, and Lake Erie, those areas could see a few narrow bands of your typical styles of fun lake effect type snow. All right, as we carry this through, this is a Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Now we carry it into that evening drive time. And if you are heading out, look at the icing taking place on this. And it's also going to bring warmer air over the top of the snow. It could convert it back into some mixed precipitation as this storm wraps up into the late part of your Saturday with some very heavy snowfall potential. Buffalo, Syracuse, all the way up to Houghton. Your areas up there in northern parts and central parts of New York, all the way out to Albany, could see some significant snow. And then as we carry this through in time, what about Boston? Yep, New York. This is where New York starts getting the snow. It's going to be in the afternoon. It's going to be mixing with rain for some, and it pushes up into, well, the coastal regions up by Providence and Boston. Not going yet. Not going quite yet, but here it comes quickly right through your kitchen as we go through. So Massachusetts from Boston and points north stand to get bands of moderate to heavy snow. That'll be followed up by some icing. That'll be followed up by some heavy rain as we carry this through. This timestamp is 7 at night, and it's in full swing along the East Coast. This is a look at a high resolution model. This model has just come in, and this is the information that we have for now. The snowfall amounts, you can look at your local National Weather Service offices who are very familiar with your local area on the terrain impacts. But you get in the elevated terrain of the Appalachians, and anywhere at altitude, you're going to have a better chance at snow, and therefore the amounts of snow will be enhanced. And anywhere on this northern fringe that stays snow the entire time, central PA, parts of eastern PA and western PA, all the way up in the northern reaches and central portions of New York State, upstate New York, and up into Burlington, Vermont, places like that in Maine as well, will definitely have a chance at seeing some very lofty snowfall totals. I could show you a couple of those real quickly on this particular model, and this ratio is not going to be identical all the way across. What I'm talking about is liquid water. The snowfall amounts will be highly variable with this system. In the warmer sector where it's transitioning from rain to snow, you're going to get that slushy, sloppy, heavy concrete type snow. That junk is really not going to shovel very good, and that ratio is going to be about 5 or 7 inches to 1 inch of rain. Now, models forecast how much precipitation might fall in the liquid form, and we use these ratios to estimate snowfall amounts. So that's a little behind-the-scenes meteorology for you as well. Let's take a look at some of these snowfall totals, shall we? And this timestamp is going to be on the 1 a.m. time frame of Sunday. So these will be pretty good for us. And we turn on our little eyeball here. If we look up into Binghamton, 6 inches of snow. As we look up towards Syracuse, we get pockets of 8 inches of snow. Brighter colors here indicative of closer to a foot of snow up by Sarasota Springs as we look through that area. Boston, because you'll be more on that area where the transition is taking place, and the snow could possibly even switch back to rain as it works its way through. The snow amounts are thicker, heavier, wetter, slushy type of snow, and it's looking at somewhere in between that 2 to 5 inch category. But when you get into the northern parts of Massachusetts, the snow amounts could be a little greater. I defer to your local National Weather Service offices, your local meteorologists who are very familiar with the terrain impacts on snow there. Out to the west coast, real quickly, the next system will be pushing in, and look at these snowfall amounts out here in the elevated terrain. We're talking from Snoqualmie Pass up in Washington through the elevated terrain of Oregon, all the way into the mountains of California and Nevada. There's going to be winter storm conditions and over a foot of snow in many places in these areas. That's a look at your national weather. If you liked what I did here, set the like button. I really appreciate that. And give me a subscription to Hutch's Weather. It's nice to meet you. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. I've been doing meteorology for many, many years, 30 years as a matter of fact, with starting out in research meteorology and doing broadcasting and education. Teaching college level meteorology for many years. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do, give me a like and check back in for updates from time to time. Right.